Hi, it's Tina today, and my video tutorial is my February A Blank Canvas project. So each month I take a blank sheet of chipboard and I create a background on it using product from the current month's kit and other product that I have in my stash to show you how you can create a mixed media layout. So I'm using my blank chipboard. I use white actually in this one. And I'm just putting a thin layer of gesso. You can see me scratching the gesso around with just an old credit card that I have. And now I'm going to add some texture to the background with this new heart stencil from Tim Holtz. I was lucky enough to take one of his classes at CHA, and that was one of the products that we had in our kit. It's a great stencil. I'm using the Wendy Beachy, the Studio 490 translucent modeling paste, which is great because when it dries, it's actually a shiny appearance, not matte. And I kind of wanted some resist to the background. So with this, when it dries, when I start putting other product on it, which I'm going to put some pan pastels on the background, it'll act as a resist to my background. So I'm just placing some of these hearts in random places around the background. So once that's dry completely, I just kind of set it aside and let it dry. It dried fairly quick. I'm taking my pan pastels. I'm using multiple colors, and you can see me just starting to layer some of the pan pastels to the background. And again, it's kind of grabbing onto where the stencil was and the little hearts that are in there, and it's grabbing onto the gessoed background. And I will actually put multiple colors and layers on this layout. I wasn't exactly sure what the end result was going to be, but I knew I wanted to use some pan pastels with the translucent modeling paste. So I'm just using my soft tool to apply the pan pastel to my background. I apologize that the video keeps going in and out fuzzy. I'm not quite sure why, but I apologize for that. So you see I put my first layer down. It was a really light color of blue. Now I'm going to a little bit of a darker color, which is more of a greenish hue. And again, I'm just applying it to my background with my soft tool. So the more color with the pan pastels that I put on, you can really see those hearts start to pop off the background. Especially when I put this brighter kind of yellowy green color onto the background, those hearts definitely start popping off the background. And pan pastels blend beautifully together. You can see when I'm putting them over each other, that area where the two colors meet, they blend very nice together. You don't have a very harsh line in between the two, and I really like that with pan pastels. So I'm just putting a little more of that blue in just to make it a little bit brighter. So now I'm just going to spritz it with water to set it down so it doesn't rub off. So you can set pan pastels with water, you can set it with hairspray, you can set it with an actual fixative. I just had the water right there handy, and I knew I was going to put a lot of other product on it, so the water worked well. So once that's dry, I'm just taking a couple of shades of Distress Inks, and I think that's Antique Linen, and I'm just adding the ink to different areas of the chipboard. And you can see the areas where the gesso was not layered on the chipboard. It created those darker areas where the ink got applied, and I like that too. So when I'm putting gesso on the background of my chipboard, I like those areas to come through because I like that random look to it. So you can just see me blending the ink in around the outside of the background. And now I'm just spritzing some water in my hand and flicking it onto the background because this is Distress Ink, so it does react to that water and it creates those water droplets on the background. So now I'm using Vintage Photo, which is my favorite Distress Ink. I use it constantly, and I'm just going to start adding in more of a darker edge to it, and you'll see towards the end I actually added a lot more of that brown color, but I'm just kind of framing that entire background in with some of the distress ink. And the thing that's nice about, you can see me wiping off, the nice thing about that translucent modeling paste, if you wanted those hearts to remain somewhat white, you can just wipe it off with a baby wipe or a paper towel, and you can remove the ink or the pan pastels that were on top of it. It just wipes off fairly clean. So you can see me just adding more layers of the ink to the background. So now my background is complete, and then what I did overnight, and I didn't show it in the video, I covered the entire background with Crackle Medium, and you can see that on here because I knew I wanted to put some distress stains in it, and I wanted that color to seep into the crack, so you can see that on the background here. The other thing that I did was stamp the image from the February kit, the stamp that was included, and I stamped it on tissue paper and adhered it to the background as well. And I did that before I put the crackle paste on. And then colored the rose flower with some watercolor paint. So you can see that on my background as well. So now I'm just taking distress stain and dabbing it into the areas on the background that I want, and I'm wiping some of it off, but it's really seeping into all the cracks that I've created with the crackle accents. I think I use crackle accents or rock candy. I have to look and see because I think I used a little bit of both because I was using up what I had in my stash. But it seeps right into those cracks. Any crackle medium would work for that as well. So now I'm just placing in some blue, and where I didn't want a real bold color, I'm just mixing in some water to kind of tone down the color of the distress stain a little bit more. You can see me just working in the color into the background. So now I'm taking the Vintage Photo distress stain and I'm wiping around the edges and kind of blending it in. And again, to really frame the entire background in with like a dark on the outside so it got lighter towards the middle. I really liked how the distress stain worked with this crackle paint and just kind of blending it in and creating more interest to the background. And that's all I'm doing right here. And again, those areas of the chipboard that weren't covered with gesso, you really see them darken up when you apply the inks and the distress stains to them, which is a great look. I really like that look. I'm putting a little more of the distress stain in the corners. I knew I had kind of wanted it to go diagonal across the background, so you can see in the upper left and the lower right corner, there's a lot more ink, and I put some reds and some more greens in here. Just to create that diagonal flow across the background. And all I'm doing there is dabbing on the distress stain and then just taking my paintbrush and kind of blending it across. And again, it's seeping into all those cracks. This is one of those backgrounds I wish you could really see in person. The texture and then all the different colors that are flowing through with the pan pastels and the inks and the stains. It's just amazing looking on the background. And I'm just drying all that distress stain so I can work on the next step. And all I did now was just adhere my photos and put my title on, and my layout was done. I hope you enjoyed my blank canvas tutorial this month, and thanks for stopping by.